we're fans of a product that you guys offer
Yep.
called Certification Assistant. Tell folks what Certification Assistant is, and then let's talk about whether they're dealing with 7019, 7020, or 7021, how that product might be something that would make sense for them to think about.
Sure. So it's software as a service.
Hey, wait, wait. Hey, Scott, real quick for you. You know what? Just in case, can you also take a step back? Maybe some of the people listening, a lot of them, right? You manage relationships with like 135,000 of the 300,000-ish plus entities, but that means half the people listening or more may not know who Exostar is and what your place is in the DIB. So maybe start with who Exostar is and what the services you provide as a whole, and then the fact that you've introduced these new set of services that are specific to this called Certification Assistant, and then talk about that.
Sure, that's great. So Exostar has a secure managed community on behalf of the Defense Industrial Base, working with large prime contractors like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, and others, where we connect together their supply chains. And many of the suppliers, the subcontractors that work with the large prime OEMs are part of our community, where we've got secure credentials and a managed access gateway, where it's a very secure environment for handling the transactions and collaboration between these communities. And it includes things that you might call controlled and classified information as well, as part of those collaboration actions. So and we've been around for 20 years doing that. Recently, we've gone under new ownership with a private equity firm, Tomo Bravo. We used to be a joint venture that was owned by large primes. What we're doing now for CMMC and looking at this opportunity and challenge for the DIB is we're trying to bring solutions out to that entire community. And they're part of our community now, where they're collaborating with their partners and whatnot. And we want to help give them kind of the guided tour and pathway of how to achieve and get ready for both CMMC as well as the challenges around 171. And when I look at that, it's really an ecosystem of what's got to be brought to bear. We're bringing some software tools to bear, where a supplier contractor can do their own self-assessments. They can collect the evidence that's needed to be able to go through an audit. When we saw the DoD scoring assessment methodology and how this regulation was coming out, we've made some recent updates so that you can view your compliance both from a CMMC like level 3 perspective versus the 171, and understand your own gap analysis and do your own assessment scoring based upon the DoD assessment methodology. We're even adding in a report so that when you get your score, you're going to have an audit trail. That score was generated at this time for that covered information system, because that score could be changing over time as well as you knock down your POAMs and you improve your security posture up to getting the full 110 controls implemented, or achieving, like level 3 certification. And that's where, as part of that solution set, we've extended to a partner program with folks like Pivot Point, to where we've got the ability for consulting partners to collaborate with the community and help review their system security plans and controls and things of that nature, to help kind of rise the overall security posture for the companies that need assistance as well.
Yeah.
So
what I like about the tool is, I like about the tool is that it gives, and when we're chatting with people that we're working with on the platform right now, is it gives everyone a unified, simplistic view of where we are in the process. And I think when you look at many of the DIB companies, right, defense supply chain companies, make a large percentage, if not the vast majority of their revenue through defense contracts. And if they are not successful, they're out of business, right? So what I like about it is, like, we're working with a client right now, procurement wants to be involved. The owner wants to know where he is. The guy who runs business development, like, that's out, bidding, trying to get on these pursuit teams. He needs to know where he stands. The IT director needs to know where he stands. They know they don't have the bandwidth and expertise to fully implement the control environment. So they've given us access into their environment, right? We're in their environment. We're actually populating the tool we're populating the components of your tool that allow a system security plan to be generated automatically once it's populated. We're documenting each of the individual controls. So in their case, they're going to be CMMC level 3. So you've broken down across the 17 domains, all 130 controls. For each of those 130 controls, we go in, we enter exactly how they meet that control. We attach policies and procedures and documentation, I'll call them design artifacts relative to that. If a control doesn't yet meet where they need to be, we're able to put an action item, a POEM, if you will, in place right there. They're able to track where each of those is, get a date to it, know who it's assigned to. So really what it does is it gives them a single unified view for not only their internal team, but their extended team. And then once we go through that and we're complete, let's say now the environment's fully stood up, then we can actually assign a different person, let's say on our team, or they could assign a different person from a C3PAO if they wanted to conduct. So now they can grant access to an auditor who has their own view where they can't edit or alter anything, but they can see all of the evidence for each of the controls. They can see the system security plan, right? So they can now conduct an audit from within there. They can generate POEMs on their behalf, or they can generate their own POEMs internally. And now once that process is complete, they can now grant access to the C3PAO and let them go through the same process. So from my perspective, this idea that you've centralized this information and just kind of, the entire process can be managed through a single web-based interface is pretty damn well done.
Thank you. And that's the whole design goal we had. And when we looked at the challenge of CMMC and the challenge of scaling to the level of security across the DIB with, 220, 300,000 companies, unless you can really enable that collaborative environment, especially when you call about the extended teams or the C3POs, you're not going to, my belief was we wouldn't be able to achieve that scalability that the DoD desired without that collaborative capability.
Yeah, no, I think it creates levels of efficiency that are going to be necessary, if the DoD is going to get 300,000 people through the process in the next 5 years.